I think we're looking again at a lost technology. And it was this ancient apocalypse 12,800 years ago that wiped that from the human memory banks.
The serene expanse of Australia's outback is electrified by the presence of Uluru, a colossal red rock that captures the imagination of all who lay eyes on it. In the heart of Uluru Kata Tjuta National Park, this breathtaking rock immediately grabs your attention. For generations, the Anangu people have revered Uluru, imbuing it with deep spiritual meaning, its ancient contours a canvas for the tales of their ancestors. What are some of the terrifying secrets veiled within this ancient stone? Join us as we delve into the depths of Uluru's mystique, exploring the profound energy of the unknown that lies beneath its surface. The magic of Uluru stories from the Red Rock. In the heart of Australia lies a remarkable site, Uluru, a giant red rock that captures the imagination of all who see it. Situated in the Uluru Kata Tjuta National Park, this sandstone monolith is an imposing presence in an otherwise arid landscape, stretching 3.5 kilometers in length and 3 kilometers in width, with a height of 348 meters above the ground. The sheer size of Uluru means that a walk around its base is a journey of hours, offering a glimpse into its majesty and the ancient stories it holds. Uluru's history spans about 680 million years, predating even the dinosaurs, making it a silent witness to the passage of time on an unimaginable scale. This ancient rock is more than just a geological marvel. It is deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric of the local indigenous people, the Anangu, who see it as a sacred embodiment of their ancestral heritage. The Anangu's connection to Uluru is profound, with the rock's nooks, crannies, and features holding countless stories from their past. The distinctive reddish-brown hue of Uluru is due to the iron content in the sandstone. This iron oxidizes, or rusts, when exposed to the elements, giving the rock its famous color. This effect is most striking at dawn and dusk, when the sun's rays make the rock glow intensely red or orange, a spectacle that draws visitors from around the globe. The environment around Uluru is tough and dry, yet it is home to a variety of plants and animals uniquely adapted to these conditions. From wild camels, descendants of those introduced by humans, to the thorny devil lizard that ingeniously gathers moisture with its skin, the area teems with life. Nearby lies Kata Tjuta, also known as the Olgas, another group of fascinating rock formations that, like Uluru, hold great significance for the Anangu people. Both Uluru and Kata Tjuta form part of the same national park, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for their natural and cultural values. The park is a testament to the area's global importance, deserving of preservation for future generations. Visitors to Uluru can expect to encounter extreme weather, characteristic of the desert, with scorching days and chilly nights. Despite these harsh conditions, the landscape bursts into color with wildflowers in the spring, revealing the desert's hidden vibrancy. In recent years, climbing Uluru has been prohibited, following the wishes of the Anangu, who ask that their sacred site be respected. Instead of climbing, tourists are encouraged to walk around the base of Uluru, take part in guided tours, and explore different viewpoints, all the while being mindful of the cultural and spiritual significance of this remarkable place. The spiritual stories tied to Uluru by the Anangu include tales of ancestral spirits and supernatural gatherings, with various features of the rock attributed to mythical creatures from their lore. This deep spiritual connection led to the closure of Uluru to climbers in 2019 and the removal of a 3D panorama from online platforms in 2020, reflecting the Anangu's commitment to preserving their sacred site while navigating the complexities of modernity and tradition. In a far-off place, there's a tall mountain known as Gangkhar Puensum, sitting right between Bhutan and China. It stretches up to 7,570 meters high, ranking it as the 40th tallest mountain globally. However, the most interesting thing about Gangkhar Puensum isn't its impressive height. It's that no one has ever reached its summit. It holds the title of the highest peak on Earth that remains unclimbed. People who love to climb mountains are especially attracted to Gangkhar Puensum. They're eager to take on the mountain because its summit is pristine and untouched. But it's not only the challenge that draws them in. There's something mysterious about this mountain. Stories suggest the landscape around it can appear to change, and even its exact spot might seem to move. It's as if the mountain hides its own mysteries. The government of Bhutan, which controls most of the mountain, decided to prohibit climbing it back in 2003. They did this out of a deep respect for nature, believing the mountain should remain undisturbed. This decision has only made the mountain more appealing to climbers. They may not be allowed to climb it, but they can't help dreaming about it. It's like a forbidden treasure. The area surrounding Gangkhar Puensum is stunning but incredibly remote. The weather there is unpredictable, adding to the challenge. There are also myths and legends about the mountain, including tales that spirits guard it from human intrusion. These stories make the mountain even more enticing to those who seek adventure. Even though climbing is banned, the mountain still attracts scientists and explorers. They're curious about its geography, climate, and the wildlife that inhabits the area. Since it's largely untouched by humans, it could offer new insights into nature. However, the location of the mountain has sparked some political tensions. The border between Bhutan and China in this region is not clearly marked, leading to disputes. This situation adds another level of difficulty to the mountain story. Step into the Canadian Rockies, where the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel mixes fancy stays with ghostly tales. The mystery of Banff Springs Hotel's ghosts. Tucked away in the beautiful Canadian Rockies, the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel is a place of luxury and mystery. Opened in 1888, this grand hotel is not just for those looking for a fancy stay in the middle of breathtaking nature, but also for those who love a good ghost story. It's not just the top-notch service or the beautiful views that make this hotel popular. It's the spooky stories and strange happenings that really attract a crowd. Over its long history, this hotel has welcomed many famous guests, like Marilyn Monroe and Winston Churchill, giving it a touch of celebrity glamour. But there's a funny story about a construction mistake here. A room ended up walled off without any windows because the builders forgot to put them in. This room, found after a fire in 1926, became just a storage space because it felt so creepy inside. However, the most famous ghost story here is about Room 873. Room 873 is said to be the site of a terrible tragedy where a family was lost in a murder-suicide, leading to reports of unexplained screams and ghostly handprints that wouldn't go away. These stories have made the room legendary among ghost hunters and the curious. The hotel, often called the Castle of the Rockies, is not just known for Room 873, but is also famous for other ghostly residents. There's the tale of the ghost bride in the ballroom and Sam the bellman, who supposedly still helps guests even after his death. Some people have tried to find out the truth about Room 873, leading to debates about whether its ghost stories are real. Some think the stories of the room being hidden behind a brick wall are just myths, with no real proof to support the spooky tales. The hotel itself plays along with these ghost stories, offering ghost tours and keeping the stories alive as part of its charm, even though it officially calls the murder story a legend. It's a smart way to keep guests intrigued, turning ghost stories and legends into an attraction. The Fairmont Banff Springs is full of ghost stories, from the dancing ghost bride to a friendly ghostly butler who keeps doing his job. These tales, whether true or not, are a big part of what makes a visit here so interesting. Step into Poland's Crooked Forest, where trees bend in weird ways and spark our wonder. Get into Poland's Crooked Forest, where trees bend in weird ways and spark our wonder. The story of Poland's crooked trees. The Crooked Forest, located near Gryfino, Poland, is a fascinating place that has caught the attention of both tourists and scientists. In this forest, you'll find around 400 pine trees that grow in a strange J shape, making it a unique sight. These trees were planted back in 1930, and ever since, people have been trying to figure out why they grew this way. Despite all the guesses, no one knows for sure why these trees are bent. Many people think that humans bent these trees on purpose. They might have done this to use the curved wood for building ships or making furniture, which was something people did back then. Local farmers might have shaped the young trees to grow this way. But then World War II happened, and Poland was invaded, which could have stopped whatever plans they had for the trees. So, the trees just kept growing bent for many years. There are other guesses about why these trees are curved, like maybe a lot of snow fell on them, or a snowstorm pushed them over when they were young. Some even say it could be because of a weird change in their genes or something the Nazis did. But these ideas don't explain why only this group of trees is bent in such a neat way. The Crooked Forest is now a place lots of people want to visit. It's especially nice to go in the summer when the weather is good for walking around. People usually spend about an hour there, looking at the oddly shaped trees and taking pictures of this strange but beautiful place. Some believe that the trees were bent on purpose by someone a long time ago. This person, maybe just being curious or having a lot of time on their hands, might have tried to see if they could make the trees grow bent. They could have been trying to make wood that was already curved for boats or furniture, or maybe they were just experimenting to see how much the trees could bend before they broke. Then, there are more unusual ideas, like the one that says the forest is on a spot where the Earth's energy is all messed up, which messed up how the trees grew. This idea suggests that something about the ground in the Crooked Forest is making the trees grow in a twisted way, like the soil has some strange power that changes how trees grow there. Count Dracula, a famous character from Gothic horror stories, was actually inspired by a real person named Vlad Tepes, or Vlad the Impaler. Vlad was born in the 15th century in a place called Wallachia, which is now part of Romania. He was known for being extremely harsh, especially for impaling his enemies on stakes. This cruel way of punishing people is how he got his scary nickname. However, the story of Vlad turning into a vampire, like Count Dracula, is something that the author Bram Stoker made up for his book. Vlad Tepes is known for being really harsh to anyone who crossed him, using terrible methods like impalement to deal with his enemies. He once impaled 20,000 people along a river to scare off invaders. This harshness was part of his strategy to keep his land safe from being taken over. Even the Pope at the time thought Vlad was doing a good job at keeping the enemies at bay. But Vlad's story isn't just about his brutal ways. He lived in a time filled with battles and struggles for power. He spent a lot of his life fighting to keep control of his homeland, Wallachia. His fierce methods and the chaotic times he lived in helped create a legend that would later inspire the character of Dracula. While Stoker's Dracula character was based on Vlad, he also mixed in vampire myths and other stories that were around before his book. The idea of vampires was already a popular story in Europe, and Stoker used Vlad's background as a way to add depth to his vampire character. So, the connection between Vlad and Dracula is more about Stoker's creativity than historical fact. Nowadays, places like Bran Castle and the ruins of Poenari Fortress are popular spots for people interested in the Dracula legend and Vlad's real history. Although Bran Castle is often linked to Dracula, historians aren't sure if Vlad ever really went there. Still, the castle draws many tourists who are curious about the Dracula stories. Bran Castle, known to many as Dracula's Castle, has become a big tourist spot, even though its connection to Vlad Tepes is pretty weak. The castle is often said to have been visited by Vlad during his battles, but there's not much evidence to support this. Even though the castle's link to Dracula is mostly made up, it's still a place many people want to visit because of the stories. The castle's fame as Dracula's home is more about clever marketing and storytelling than real history. Historians think that Vlad probably never went to Bran Castle, as it wasn't important to him, and he didn't live there. Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula, also never visited Romania or the castle. He just read about it and used his imagination to create Dracula's spooky castle. Despite the shaky historical connection, Bran Castle has become one of Romania's most visited places, thanks to the Dracula myth. The castle has an interesting history of its own, having been a royal home and going through many changes over the years. It was even given back to a royal family in the early 2000s. Visitors to Bran Castle can take tours to see the beautiful architecture, learn about its real history, and hear how it got connected to the Dracula story. This mix of true history and vampire tales makes the castle a unique place to visit. Explore under Greenland's ice, where a huge hidden canyon shows us Earth's old mysteries, under the freezing ice discovering Greenland's hidden canyon. On the darker sides of the internet, where wild conspiracy stories grow unchecked, there's a fascinating yarn about hidden worlds under the Earth's surface. These tales suggest that advanced communities live far away from the rest of us beneath the hard ice in places like Greenland. It sounds like a plot from a sci-fi book, right? But it's the kind of idea that gets people thinking and dreaming. Back in 2013, researchers from the University of Bristol, working with NASA, shared a find that feels like it came straight from a sci-fi story. They used special radar from airplanes to spot a massive mega canyon under Greenland's thick ice. This huge valley is at least 750 kilometers, 460 miles long, stretching from the middle of Greenland all the way to the north, and it's as grand and mysterious as the famous Grand Canyon in Arizona. This big discovery was made thanks to radar technology that can see through the ice, which doesn't block certain kinds of radio waves. This radar showed them a giant canyon hidden under as much as 2 kilometers of ice, a place no one had ever seen before. This canyon is more than just an interesting bit of geography. Scientists think it plays a big part in moving water that melts under the glacier out to the sea. This helps us understand more about Greenland's history and how changes there might be affecting our climate today. Scientists believe this huge canyon formed over 4 million years ago, long before the ice that covers it now. It might have been part of a big river system, showing us that Greenland looked very different in the past. The canyon starts off fairly shallow, but gets as deep as 800 meters. While it's not deeper than the Grand Canyon, it's a lot longer. It helps explain why Greenland's ice behaves differently from the ice in Antarctica, like why there aren't many lakes under the ice. The canyon helps meltwater flow out, which could change how fast the ice moves to the ocean. Finding this canyon not only taught us more about the hidden parts of Earth, but also reminded us how much we still have to learn about what's under the ice. This big find in Greenland has opened up new areas for research, especially about how melting ice affects sea levels around the world. This discovery doesn't just satisfy our craving for new knowledge. It's a clear sign of how much we still don't know about our planet. The Greenland Canyon, with its huge size and secret beauty, makes us question what we think we know about Earth, suggesting there might be more secrets hidden away, waiting for us to find them with better technology. Enter Bangar Fort, where spooky tales and old stories mix. The forgotten fort slowly fading into history. Bangar Fort, located in Rajasthan, India, is surrounded by stories that blur the line between myths and chilling truths. Built in the 17th century for Madho Singh, brother to the Mughal general Man Singh, this fort once symbolized wealth and power. It was bustling with activity until a combination of tragic events and possibly a curse caused everyone to leave it behind. There's a popular story that the fort became haunted after a sage or a wizard who had his heart broken by the stunning Princess Ratnavati put a curse on it. Since that curse, people have talked about hearing strange noises, seeing ghosts, and even feeling invisible hands touching them in the ruins after the sun goes down. At night, the fort feels heavy and unsettling, which has made it known as one of the most haunted places in India. Interestingly enough, the Archaeological Survey of India has put up warning signs at the entrance, telling people not to go in from sunset to sunrise. This could be seen as a kind of official nod to the spooky stories. These legends, true or not, keep drawing in tourists who are fascinated by the mystery and hope to experience something supernatural. Despite its scary reputation, the fort is an impressive example of Rajput architecture. It has big gates, temples, and the ruins of once beautiful palaces and marketplaces. Every part of the fort has a story to tell about its former splendor and how it ended up empty. Going to Bhangar Fort is an adventure that mixes the excitement of visiting a place known for hauntings with the chance to see historical buildings. If you decide to go, it's best to visit during the day, following the rules set by local and archaeological authorities. You can get there by car or train, with Alwar being the closest town. For those interested in diving into Rajasthan's deep history and folklore, Bhangar Fort is a must-see. Despite its creepy vibe, Bhangar Fort still pulls in those who are curious or fearless. Its architectural beauty and the mysteries surrounding why it was abandoned attract people from all over the world to visit during the day. It's about 300 kilometers from Delhi, and you can drive or take a train there, with Alwar as the nearest city. Since there are no hotels or places to eat right by the fort, visitors usually stay in nearby cities like Jaipur or Alwar, which also offer a look into the culture of Rajasthan. The Coral Castle in Florida is a fascinating blend of beauty and mystery, showcasing what one person's determination, along with some possible unknown scientific or supernatural help, can achieve. Built by Edward Leeds-Kalnin, a man from Latvia, this incredible site was born out of a heartbreak when his fiancée, Agnes Skuvst, left him. Starting in the early 20th century, Leeds-Kalnin worked alone to move and carve more than 1,100 tons of coral rock. How Leeds-Kalnin managed to build the Coral Castle remains a mystery. He was a small man, yet he somehow quarried, moved, and sculpted huge coral blocks, some weighing as much as 30 tons, mostly at night and away from prying eyes. This secrecy sparked rumors that he might have had supernatural help or knew some lost advanced science. He sometimes mentioned that he knew the construction secrets of the ancient builders, suggesting he might have used magnetic fields or natural forces in ways we still don't understand today. The Coral Castle is more than just a structure. It's a testament to Leeds-Kalnin's dedication after a devastating breakup, creating what some see as a wonder of the modern world. The way he moved and assembled enormous pieces of coral, some as heavy as 30 tons, has intrigued many. There are stories that kids saw the stones floating as if they were balloons, and when he needed to relocate the castle, he did it at night, adding to the mystery. Leeds-Kalnin hinted that he knew how the pyramids were built, implying he had special knowledge about magnetic fields and the planet's energy. Today, the Coral Castle is not just a reminder of a lost love, but also of Leeds-Kalnin's enigmatic ability to work with stone. Visitors can see different parts of the castle, like a 9-ton gate that was so well balanced it could be opened with a slight push. However, when this gate had to be fixed, it took a team of 6 men and a 20-ton crane to do the job, and they still couldn't match Leeds-Kalnin's accuracy. See the Eye of the Sahara, a giant desert mystery that catches the eye. Discovering Sahara's desert giant eye. When you look at the Sahara Desert with a bit of imagination and a healthy dose of skepticism, the Eye of the Sahara, also known as the Richat structure, transforms the vast desert from just a sea of sand into a source of endless fascination and wild guesses. In the heart of the Sahara's tough landscape, there's a place called the Eye of the Sahara that's more than just an unusual spot on Earth. It looks like a giant bullseye, or an eye from up above, and stretches across 31 miles on the Adrar Plateau in Mauritania. This isn't your typical desert scene. Hidden within the Sahara, this feature can be seen from space and has caught the attention of astronauts and those who love a good conspiracy. The Eye of the Sahara, or the Richat structure, is a standout in the Sahara Desert, located in Mauritania's Adrar Plateau. It's not just its massive size and circular shape that grab people's attention. It's also surrounded by fascinating stories about how it came to be. Once thought to be the result of a meteorite crash, scientists now believe it formed through natural Earth processes, putting to rest the more fantastical idea that it might be connected to the mythical city of Atlantis. Looking down from space, the Richat structure forms a striking circular pattern, like a target's bullseye. It covers about 30 miles in diameter and is made of layers of rock, such as limestone and shale, arranged in rings. These layers tell the story of Earth's past, revealing how the environment and conditions have changed over millions of years. The Eye of the Sahara is made up of ancient rocks, dating back to the late Proterozoic era in its center, with sandstones from the Ordovician period along its outer parts. You'll also find both types of igneous rocks, like gabbro and rhyolite, showing there was once a lot of volcanic activity. This place wasn't created by a meteorite hitting the Earth, but by natural forces lifting and eroding the rock over time, exposing these fascinating layers. There are two main ideas about how the Eye of the Sahara came to be. Some think it was shaped by erosion and the land lifting up over time. Others, like scientists Guillaume Maton and Michel Jabrac, suggest a more complicated story. They think it has to do with the supercontinent Pangaea breaking apart and volcanic activity that followed. This theory explains the concentric rings and the unique rock formations we see today, which were caused by magma rising up, creating ring-shaped cracks, and changing the landscape through volcanic and water-related processes. The Richat structure doesn't just draw the attention of those who study Earth. It also brings in visitors fascinated by its stunning looks and the secrets it holds. Getting there isn't easy, as it's tucked away in a remote part of the desert, but the nearby town of Ouadana is a good place to start if you're looking to explore. While some people have tried to link it to the mythical city of Atlantis, there's no real scientific proof to back up those claims. What's clear is that the Richat structure is a natural wonder, showcasing the amazing things that can happen on our planet due to geological forces. The rocks at the Richat structure are quite a mix, with the middle part made of ancient sedimentary rocks from the late Proterozoic era, and the edges featuring sandstones from the Ordovician period. You'll also find rocks that formed from magma, like gabbro and rhyolite, pointing to a time of intense volcanic activity. This variety in rock types, along with how the structure looks from above, helps scientists learn a lot about how the Earth's surface changes over time due to things like erosion, the movement of the Earth's plates, and volcanic eruptions. Even though it's in a dry, desert area, the Eye of the Sahara has helped researchers understand more about the Sahara's weather history, showing evidence of both wet and dry times. People used to think a meteorite hitting the Earth made the Richat structure, but now we know it came about through Earth's own natural actions, like the lifting of the ground into a dome shape and different rates of wearing away. This unique look it has didn't come about overnight, but challenges what we first thought, reminding us that even in the driest places, Earth can hide stories worth discovering. Head to Wales, where the Skirrid Inn mixes spooky tales with real history. Ghosts meet history at Skirrid Inn. Hidden in a charming Welsh village, the Skirrid Mountain Inn is a building filled with stories from a rough past, where the walls themselves seem to remember the days when they witnessed harsh judgments, and possibly even the executions that followed. People say that the bottom floor, which used to be a courtroom, was where Judge Jeffreys handed down his unforgiving sentences. His reputation for being merciless is almost as famous as the ghost stories that suggest he still causes trouble from the afterlife. The atmosphere in the inn feels heavy with old stories, where what might sound like laughter can suddenly seem like cries of distress, and the cold feeling that makes you shiver could be more than just a breeze. This inn's fame among those who chase after ghost stories and seek adrenaline rushes probably says more about our own dark curiosity about death and what might lie beyond than about the inn's historical importance. Far away, on Easter Island, stand the Moai statues, silent guardians of the land. These enormous stone figures have been a mystery for a long time, leaving people to wonder who made them and why. Made by the Rapa Nui people, it's believed these statues represent their ancestors, looking out for the community from the afterlife. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is quite isolated, making it one of the loneliest places on the planet. The Moai statues, some as tall as over 10 meters and very heavy, are an impressive sight. Made from volcanic rock, each statue is different, but they all face inland, which suggests they were meant to protect the people living on the island, not to greet those arriving or to scare off potential threats. How the Rapa Nui people managed to move these huge statues is still hotly debated by researchers. They likely had to come up with smart ways to move them, using logs, ropes, and working together. This reflects the strong community organization and ingenuity of the island's people. Yet, the story of the Moai is also one of environmental downfall. Moving the giant statues meant cutting down many trees, leading to deforestation. Without trees, the soil was washed away, crops didn't grow, and the once thriving community struggled with hunger and conflict. This environmental crisis serves as a powerful warning about the dangers of not taking care of our natural resources. The number of people living on Easter Island was once much higher, but this ecological disaster greatly reduced the population. By the time Europeans arrived in the 18th century, the society that had built the Moai had greatly declined. Diseases brought by these newcomers and enslavement raids made the situation worse, nearly wiping out the island's cultural heritage. Nowadays, the Moai statues are often seen as intriguing and mysterious, drawing tourists from all corners of the world. However, their real story is a cautionary one about the environment and the risks of exploiting it too much. While there are some wild theories about alien involvement or connections to ancient lost civilizations, the true importance of the Moai lies in their creation by a resourceful and determined people who, despite their cleverness, couldn't avoid the impact of their actions on their environment. As we finish exploring these amazing stories, let's think. What stories do we have? Tell us your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.